Jerry Brown here with Jerry Brown Travels.
Lori here.
Well, we have a story to tell them, huh, Lori?
Oh yeah, we have a scam story to tell you.
Yeah, we were almost scammed, and we want to tell you this story. And why I say that we were shocked, especially me being shocked. So I had heard about this scam before, actually a few times. And so here's what happened. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened step by step and through the whole process and the way it unfolded, in our lives. Well, Lori and I were relaxing, around the house, and I ended up getting a phone call. And here's how it went. So the person on the other line, they says, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "No, I don't know who it is." And so they said, "Oh, you don't know who this is?" "No, I don't know who this is. I still haven't quite figured it out." And they says, "You don't know who this is?" I says, "No, I don't know who this is." And so they says, "I'm your oldest nephew." Okay, so that name comes to mind. But what had happened a week before, I was talking to my oldest nephew's mother, who is my older sister. And so I says, "How's your mom?" "Fine," try to say. And he says, "Well, where are you at? What's going on?" He says, "I'm in Mexico," and I looked at Lori in shock, like, what's Ron doing in Mexico? And so he says, "Yeah, this is Ron." And I says, I'm thinking all these little thoughts, because Ron's married, he lives in Florida, he's got a business that he needs to run. And I'm sort of thinking, is he going through a divorce? Is he, run away? I says, "Well, how long are you going to be here?" And he says, he's never been to Mexico. He says, "Well, I've come to this area for 3 days, and I'm going to go to Puerto Vallarta." So,
Well, it's your nephew. Why don't he come here and stay with us?
yeah. Okay, Ron. Here's what you'll need to do. He had not gone through customs or immigration yet. So I told him the procedure of going through those. And then I says, when you get out into the main terminal, you look straight ahead, you're going to see a money exchange. Why don't you go get maybe $300 US turned into pesos? And then just to the right, there's going to be a taxi area that you can actually pay for a taxi, and they'll bring you down to the Lake Chapala area. And it says, they're all safe, don't worry about it. I says, why don't you come down here? Get that cab and come down here. So here, about 10 minutes later, I get another phone call. And he says, "This is Ron. I'm in a little room and I've been locked up because I had money in my suitcase and they found it." And I says, "Do you have more than 10,000 US dollars in there?" And he said, "Yes," which is very unusual. Why would somebody come in with more than $10,000 just for a few day trip into Mexico? This is, this again, my mind's going with all these scenarios. Just didn't make sense. So he says, "Here, you can talk to an official." And so this official gets on. He tells me he's with the immigration. He says his English isn't that good, but the money has been put in a sealed envelope, and it's a federal sealed envelope. It is put away, and we cannot go into it. And so, like he says, my English isn't that good. So we fumbled around with the English, and we got through it. So I says, "Well, let me drive there, and I can, see what I can do." And he said, "Well, you could pay a fine, and if you pay a fine, your nephew can then be released." Okay. So I says, "Okay, let me do that." Then he says, "The only trouble is I'm leaving in an hour and a half, and it's going to take me an hour and 15 minutes to drive there and park." And he says, "We probably won't have enough time. Then you'll have to be dealing with another person, And I said, "Oh, what? So what else can we do?" And he says, "Well, if you go to the little convenience store, there's a chain of convenience stores down here, and they are called Oxel. And he says, I can give you a code that you can pay this. And Oxel will take a lot of payments for different things, like your utility bills, you can renew your cell phone there. So it's a normal occurrence that you may use on Oxel. So here, I said, how much is it going to be? He says, $500, right?
Yeah.
and Lori looks at me, she said, do we have $500? And so I said, because we have some medical issues, and I says, well, we got some money put away for that. So let me check it. We did have $500. So the Oxel from our place here is just about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes away. So I says, come on, Lori, let's go. And so we get in the car and we're driving there. Again.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, if your nephew come and he had that trouble, $500 is nothing. You just, pay for your nephew and you can see him. You say, come over here and then we can pick him up and then come to stay with us. It was a family. I don't throw family away, I say, well, your nephew, it's okay, 500, you can see them, and they can reimburse us back, it's okay. So, and Jerry would say, okay, I'm looking at the money to pay him, and then we on the way to Oxel, we get out, get the money to the Oxel.
So I'm racing to get there, because I don't want my nephew, I'm figuring he's freaking out being locked up and everything. Yeah. And then Lori, she goes, wait a minute, you better call your older sister and find out if Ron, because I didn't have Ron's number in Florida, and see if he's there. So I call my older sister, which I'm, nervous and everything, and she says, let me call him. So she calls, she gets back, she says, Ron's in the shower. He's in Florida in the shower.
He didn't go anywhere. And I said, oh my God, there's something click on my mind. I said, wait a minute, if Ron come here, usually the custom, they call uncle or call the family first before they come. But this doesn't have any call first, and they just come surprise. And then I click on my head, say, Jerry, call to your sister. See, it's Ron here. It was Ron for sure. I don't mind to pay 500, but it wasn't Ron. We pay 500. Ron's not here. I'm gonna be pissed off.
Poof! It's gone. So here, when we got the call, and I was almost at the door going in, because what I realized afterwards is that, like I say, I had heard about this scam, and that's what shocked me so much. Of my reply, I would have thought, I would have figured out it was a scam right away. But when it happens to you, as it happened to me, your emotions are all going in a different direction. You're thinking about the person. You don't want them, especially in Mexico, you don't want them to be locked up in Mexico. In fact, at one point, when I was talking to Ron, I said, Ron, whatever you do not become belligerent or be defensive to the officials there. Just say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir, and don't try to fight them, because it's not going to work. You don't want to go against the officials, especially in Mexico, because they can really make it hard for you. So here, looking back on it, I went, wow, I was so caught up in it, Luckily, Lori, comes to the rescue, and her brain was clear, and she's heard the scam and stuff like that. Give your sister a call. And so we did, and so then what happens is we come home. Well, this one here is ringing like crazy. About every minute, this guy's calling back, right? Well, we just let it go to the answer machine. We're sort of standing around looking at the phone, and we're sort of thinking, these guys are thinking, wow, I got this guy hooked. You know what I mean? We're going to reel him in.
Not here. Shut up all the phone.
Yeah. So we shut off the phone and that. So that's our little scam that happened here. And I guess the thing, again, why I was so shocked, I've heard about this scam, in other countries, but they were very, very convincing. So.
Oh man, it sounds so real, like immigration officer.
Yeah.
It's so real.
Yeah.
And he know the law and everything. I say, wow. And then it made me believe in that moment, but in another moment, it's something clicked on my head. I said, no, if I pay this 500, I better see my nephew. If I don't see my nephew, I don't want to pay it.
Yeah.
So I said, call your sister, Jerry.
Okay, well, Jerry here.
And Lori here.
With no, another blooper. I can't get it. Okay, let's try that one more time. Jerry here.
And Lori here.
With another blooper. Okay, let's try it again. Jerry here.
And Lori here.
With Jerry Brown Travels. I did it.
We did it.
Okay, bye.